Hello, this is a short tutorial video on the Koha staff interface. Koha is an open source software and it is accessible in any web browser. So the computer can be a laptop, iPad, big screen TV, or even your cell phone. And if you have an internet browser such as Google, Firefox, Safari, Microsoft Edge, and the internet, you're able to access Koha. It is also mobile responsive, so depending on the size of your screen, it will adjust to those dimensions and you will not lose any functionality. Here I am logged into the staff interface, and this is the main screen. I'm logged in as a super librarian, which means I have access to all the modules. As you can see, all these are the modules that I have access to. In Koha, users can be given permissions to allow them to easily access the modules they need and not have a lot of other things on the screen that they aren't using. So a circulation associate may have just a few of these boxes to be able to streamline their workflow. The staff interface is customizable. So you'll see here over on the left, we've integrated some resources such as our Google Calendar, some quick link reports, as well as some resources here. We've actually created a few web pages that will link out to an entirely new page, which would allow your users to be able to access more pages. So if I click over here, I'm able to see this introduction to the Koha, a little bit of fun stuff. As you saw that I used the back button. So again, just like a web browser, you have all the functionality that you do on a regular Firefox home screen or Google's home screen. The back button, the forward button, multiple tabs can be open. So if I go ahead and click this help button here over far right, you can see it's going to open in a new tab and bring me to the Koha manual. It's accessible online. I'm able to click through any of these options and see screenshots and step-by-step instructions. Koha is upgraded twice a year, and the manual will also be upgraded and available linked from your staff interface. Another thing to note about this main page is this center search bar. Koha has given a lot of functionality just in this main search bar that would easily allow you to start typing in a person's name or scanning in a barcode to be able to access that patron and instantly check out to them. I'm in checkout, I'm able to see my options, click over to my patron, and now you can see my cursor is right here and I'm able to start scanning out to that patron. Below the checkouts, you can see I can see the existing checkouts this patron has. I also see some information here over on the right that would allow me to see any information about this patron that either staff is sharing with me or circulation information such as a hold. I'm able to instantly be able to see that notification. As I scroll down a little bit, you're able to see the all the information about this patron's checkout. Each of these green texts are hyperlinked. So again, I'm going to go ahead and utilize that web-based product and right-click, and I'm able to pop over to that actual bibliographic record and see the holding itself. So you can see now I'm able to see the record, the cover image, then if there is any holdings within the system, as well as the status. So I can see that exact copy this patron has checked out. We have another item here that is on order. This is a multi-branch system that I'm using today. So I am logged in. If I scroll up a little bit here, I'm logged in at the East branch. So by default, Koha is going to show me the East branch holdings. However, I have another tab over here that would allow me to see holdings in other branches. So I can see that the main library has 2 items on order at this moment. I'm going to pop back over to my account. I can easily use this last patron option that will bring me to the last patron that form I was on, or I can go back to that other tab that I was on. Scrolling over just a little bit just to see a few more things that we can see in the checkouts, I can see if I can renew this this book for this patron and also check it in from here. Koha has the ability to have automatic renewals. So as a library, you can determine which item types and patron categories and the combination of those that would allow for automatic renewals. So for instance, this is a case of audiobooks are scheduled to automatically renew, and it tells me that I have 3 renewals remaining, but it will renew for me. This is a book, and it doesn't have that automatic renewal, and I have 5 here. From the holds tab, I'm able to easily see all the holds the patron has. Koha has a claims returned module, so I'm able to see and claim any material that the patron has said that they've returned and we can't seem to find. Over on the left, we have lots of options within the Patron account. Specifically, I really like the notices that I'm able to see every notice that has been sent to this patron. I can see how it was sent, if it was sent, or if it failed, and when it was sent. So if I click this notice here, I can see the exact notice that was sent to the patron. And I also have the ability to resend it. So even if it's sent and the patron didn't receive it, I can go ahead and resend that for the patron. I'm going to just go ahead and hit that edit button, and so we can see the patron form. This is customizable for the library. You're able to identify mandatory fields, which are marked in reds. You can utilize the fields that Koha is providing, or you can hide fields that you might not feel are important to fill out for your staff. You can populate cities with state and zip code for easy access for your staff to be able to identify what city they are, and then clicking that will populate both the state and the zip code for them. You also have the ability to collapse specific areas in the registration form. So in this case, we've collapsed the alternate address, but clicking it will expand it. I'm thinking of those non-residents or those snowbirds potentially, that not every patron you need to incorporate an alternate address or contacts, but it's good to have those fields just in case. When you go through your implementation, you'll work with our data specialist to identify your patron categories. So that will allow you to define what category your patrons will live in, and that will show up in each time you've created a patron. It's going to work with your circulation and fine rules. You also have a lot of details that you can be specific for each patron category, such as messaging preferences, resetting passwords, privacy, lots of customization in each patron category. If I scroll down, you can see those patron messaging fields. As we said, Koha will send out notices to your patrons. You can see there are quite a few notices that Koha can send, such as your item due, an advance due notice, so you can determine how many days in advance, hold filled, and again, they have the ability to send that multiple ways. You can do an SMS. If you send messages via SMS, you just need to gather your patron's SMS number and that provider they are using. And you have a phone option. If you're using Shoutbomb, Itiva, Talking Tech, Koha can integrate with those, and those messages can be sent by that third-party vendor. And you also have, finally, the email option. I'm going to pop back to this main screen. Now we started with this checkout option. I want to go ahead and just click that patron option, and just to show you the versatility in being able to just search patrons if you wanted to. I have some search options here if I'm looking for a specific field, if I'm looking for a specific category. So if I said, well, I want to see every staff member in the system or in any specific branch, I can go ahead and do that. Koha is going to provide me with a nice list of those. Again, clickable links, so I can easily go into that account to find out more. But you can see I get a lot of information, category, expires, finds, any notes. Any of these, you can see that's clickable. Any of these, I could go and pre-populate this list by a different variable. So if I click the expires on and I kind of wanted to see what expired the furthest out, here I have them. I've reorganized those results to look differently for what I'm looking for. I can, of course, export this, this field as well. Another thing I can do from this page is I could merge patrons. So if I click a few patrons here, I have the ability to go ahead and merge those. So if for some reason I had two of the same patrons, I could go through that merge process and Koha will move over those finds, checkouts, and holds. Or I could create a patron list for further information gathering. Up at the top here, we have this static bar. So instead of popping back to my home, which I can easily click this little home button or this Koha button, I do have the ability to click any of these options here at the top. I can head right over to reports if I wanted to. And again, saving me a click that I don't need to click too many times to get where I'm going. Let's just pop over to the circulation menu. Now, although we do have this nice handy search bar, so I have the checkout, I can check in, I can even search the catalog right from this search bar as I toggle through these options. But I also have those options here. Here's my checkout, my check-in, my renew. I don't lose that functionality, but I do have a place for them to live. So I do have those options here. Any hold reports that Koha has built into the system for me, such as my holds queue report, which would allow me to access all the holds that need to be pulled off the shelf. Koha allows me to filter if I'm looking just for a specific item type. I'm headed over to the DVD. So those are the holds that I need to pull at that moment or a specific shelving location. It is going to default to the branch that I am located at. If I go ahead and submit, I can actually see all the holds that I need to pull to trigger those holds for people that are waiting for those. Again, clickable links, those little carrots that allow me to organize or reorganize those patrons or call numbers or item types. So again, if I decided to reorganize the item types, and it will give it to me in a different order, which I really appreciate. The next thing I want to do is I want to show you a couple of searches that Koha has using this little carrot. I have both the advanced search and the item search. We'll just pop over to the advanced search really quickly, and you can see that I'm able to use Boolean operators. So I'm able to pull in maybe a title and then an author, doing that search really quickly and refined. I can also search by these Boolean operators as well as refine by item type, my shelving location, or even collection. So really narrowing down on those searches. I have further limits. So if I'm looking for a specific year or a range of years, if I'm looking for a specific library or things that are available, or a group of libraries. So Koha allows larger multi-branch systems to group libraries depending on how they work. Maybe there's a little subgroup within your library consortium. And then of course I can change how Koha presents me with my search. Maybe I want newest to oldest, maybe I want it by call number range. The other search that I want to show to you is the item search. And really, in essence, this is doing an SQL query in the background, which it's always really great to be able to identify certain things that you're looking for and just run that as easily as possible. So again, I can look by certain areas such as home library, shelving location, item type. I can also look at statuses. So I could say, hey, what everything is ordered in the system, or give me everything that is considered lost or withdrawn. So that's going to give you a broader range of what you're looking for in your collection. I also have the ability to look for specific fields. And then libraries, you see these custom search fields. Libraries can create their own search fields. So you can see I'm looking for my accelerated reader value in the 526C, or I'm looking for a specific subject search, or hey, I'm looking for everything that's suppressed in the OPAC. I also can do a call number range if it has more or less than a specific number of checkouts, and then this checkout date, like looking for maybe older material or newer material. And then finally, I can look at that result. I can send it to a CSV, or I can use a barcode. I can grab a barcode file, which is really helpful when you're using batch modifications within the system. And we'll go through that in a second. You can see my item search. I'm getting a lot of information here. I'm getting those titles. If I scroll over, I'm also able to see a lot of information such as number of checkouts, the due date, and then from this edit, I can go ahead and directly edit the item or edit the record. If I go ahead and just click into one of these, again, I'm given the same mark record that we saw before. And I want to just spend another minute on this bibliographic record. Koha is going to present the staff member with this information pulling from the mark record. It's also going to give a couple more options to be able to access, for instance, the view in your Aspen Discovery, as well as a full mark view. I'm going to go ahead and close that. Cover images that are being populated on the Koha staff client are coming from 3 sources. We use a COSI server that is looking for images using Amazon, Open Library, or Google Books. That image is being pulled in from an ISBN. So if Koha's COSI server can find a cover image using the ISBN found in the mark record, it will display a cover image. However, libraries can upload their own image if it's not found, or if you wanted to use a different cover image, you can go ahead and do that. There are a couple features here at the top that I want to identify. You, of course, can create a new item right from here. You can edit the mark record, edit the items, or edit these items in batch. So maybe I realize that this audiobook is in the wrong shelving location, so I want to move both of these items at the same time. There's that upload image again. I could duplicate this existing record. I could go ahead and say, hey, let me check my Z39.50 server and see if I can get a different record and replace it. I can easily save this record to my desktop in a various number of forms, add it to a cart or a list, and then also place it on hold. Koha does have an integration with Novelist Select and Syndetic, so you're able to see the Novelist Select right from the staff interface, making that customer interaction really easy, especially if the book's not in. You can absolutely see similar titles or similar authors pulled in from that Novelist Select subscription your library has. If this item or record has been purchased through the acquisition module, the acquisition details will show here, giving me the basket, who I ordered it from, when this order was complete, and linking me out to that acquisition information. Over on the left, I'm able to, again, see the mark. I can actually see a different view of the item itself. So I'm getting a quick look at the items, barcode, checkouts. I can update lost status, damage, withdrawn, and add a public note or a non-public note. This is the second item view that you have access to. This is more or less maybe a circulation item option that would allow your circulation staff to easily update some information about the item itself. The full item view you can see right from here. So if I'm going to just scan, I'm going to scroll my little mouse over. If I click that edit, I'm able to actually see all the item information and fill it out, change it, what I need to do. Koha has templates, item templates that allow staff to be easily able to, when adding new items, apply an existing template. So you can hear I have a fiction template that when I'm cataloging my fiction items, I'm able to apply that template. It's going to fill out shelving location, item type, and the information that I want to have in that template, which I really like. Talking about cataloging, I'm going to head over to the actual cataloging module, which is right here at the top of the list. And you can see I have lots of options within the cataloging module that will allow me to create records, whether that's through a Z39.50, bringing those records in from a vendor file, and being able to manipulate those so I can have some batch editing opportunities using those barcode files we talked about. You also can create labels within the system. You could do a batch local cover image process here. And then I have access to both my system preferences dedicated to cataloging, which is really fantastic, as well as some configuration. If I go ahead and click this stage records for import, I'm easily able to grab a file from my desktop and then fill out the appropriate fields that I need Koha to process that. I can apply a specific profile. The profile will actually determine the rest of the details from below. Again, making that workflow really streamlined. This is a file from Baker & Taylor. When I use a Baker & Taylor file, I want to check on the ISBN for matches. I'm not going to use a modification template, and then my matching rules from below. So set it and forget it is kind of a great feature in Koha when you're doing these specific tasks. Any existing files that I have imported and or staged will live here. So I'm easily able to see any of the vendor files I've brought in. When I'm using any of the mark batch item modification, I can grab a barcode file. So there's my option for a barcode file, or add in barcodes from a list and then populate that file and then make any of those modifications. If I'm deciding I'm opening a new branch, or I have a new area within the library I want to move my collection to, I can easily change shelving location, call numbers, branch. I can add a public note to all of them. The tools module, you're going to have lots of actions. So you're able to determine what your notices and slips look like in the system. So if we click over here, Koha has created all the notices and slips and has a default template that you can set and go. However, if a library wanted to alter the language or what is printed on that slip, then you have that ability, as well as the ability to assign it to a specific branch. So you could have a library slip for all libraries, or each library could have their own individual. If I look at the slip that gets printed up at the desk when a patron is done, that's that quick slip. If I click over here, I'm able to see the information that is provided to the patron over here on the right-hand side. But I'm easily able to identify different information, populate that. I could also, have a nice, have a nice day text as well. Here it looks like I'm giving the first and last name of the patron that checked out the book, as well as their card number. I may say, well, I don't really need the title printed on the slip or their last name, just for privacy reasons. So instead, I'm going to say checked out to that first name, and maybe not even the card number, or I could pick and choose. But you can see you're able to identify and update information. One last thing, you can have notices and slips in different languages. We can install language packs on your Koha system, which would allow both the staff interface to be translated to that language and or being able to have notices written into that language, which then would allow you to send notices to patrons that would like it in a different language. I'm going to go ahead and hit save on that notice. You're going to set up other things within the tools module, the calendar when each library is opened and closed. Another great feature within tools is the ability to customize what is on that staff client. So we saw those that calendar and those quick links that's coming right from the tools. You're able to create additional web pages, which I showed you earlier. That all comes from within the tools module. One last area I wanted to pop over to is the reporting module, which is a really fantastic place to really dig into. You can create your own reports in SQL. You can use save reports that we build on your system. Koha has some statistic wizards that you can pick and choose the information you're looking for. There are some top reports that are available. And then you also have access to the database schema. So how all the database tables interact, which is going to help you create a report or maybe edit a report. And then finally, you have access to the Koha report library. Koha is a community. So for many years, we were sharing reports on this Koha wiki, which would allow patron staff to come here, copy this SQL report and put it onto their system. So a nice, easy copy and paste when you're creating a new SQL report, and there you have it. Most recently, the community said, well, we like the Koha wiki, however, wouldn't it be better if we could directly import reports? So they created a Mana database of reports, which makes staff easily able to search for terms, looking through the reports that have been shared within the Mana database, looking at that SQL. So if I hover, you can see the SQL, and then easily able to directly import a report right into the system. Bywater is your support company, so they will create any number of reports you want. There's no limit to the number of reports that you can ask for us to create. So again, these are tools that you have, but of course you have Bywater to be able to assist you with anything you need. Reports can be run directly from the staff interface. So if I'm at a list of reports here, I can go ahead and hit run. I can also schedule reports to be run at a specific frequency and emailed directly to an email address or multiple email addresses as desired. If I go ahead and run this new bibs between dates, Koha's, this was built to say, let's have some dates in here. I'm going to go ahead and run that report, and then I'm able to see the information that's being pulled in that select statement. But again, you can see that these are linked, that I'm easily able to view or edit the record right from here, as well as here. And then I also have the ability from the report to do batch operations. So I could say, yeah, and modify these reports or even add them to a list. Maybe I'm creating a new list. So some great features here. Lastly, I'm going to just pop over to the administration area because it is full of ways to customize your library system. So we have an entire section of global system preferences that we will work with your library system to ensure that these are set up according to your workflows and your library's needs. Further into Koha administration, we will talk to you about setting up libraries, potentially library groups, how item types and patron categories and circulation rules are created, edited, and refined in the system. As you can see, this area is quite exhaustive. However, during the migration process, we will work with your library system, having those discussions about workflows and library policies and how you want your ILS to work for your library system. And that's our ultimate goal. Koha has been used with very small libraries and very large complex libraries. And this is the actual essence of how we're going to be able to customize the system for you. I've added a slide at the end of this video for you where I'm giving a link to a test site, a username and password. So feel free to explore on your own in the Koha system. Thank you so much for watching.